Well, welcome everybody to another video. I hope we're all doing good. Continuing along with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Believe it or not, I am standing in a black room right now. There we go. A black room, a dark room, while we look at a black screen. Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing good. It's December 3rd. On yesterday's video, I opened it saying it's the worst day of the year. But it was still a bank holiday, at least. I think most of us are back to work now. Which isn't very fun. So maybe today is the worst day of the year. Anyway, it's somewhere around 11 o'clock, half 11 in the morning, something like that. I'm feeling incredibly fresh. I just had a little bit of beetroot, which is a bit weird, I give you. But I do have orange juice with me. Cup of coffee, obviously. I've just been listening to a bit of Bob Dylan, which I haven't been listening to in years and years and years. And was somehow in my recommended feed on YouTube today. And I thought, wow, do you know what? That's the recommended feed actually doing something good there. And as far as Lara is concerned, we are, we're about to discover the true secret of what the hell was going on with Lopez. He took the box all these years ago, actually in cahoots with an Emperor of Paititi, hid it away, and Lopez, in a way, has actually done something quite good here, because he has prevented Trinity, hundreds of years later, getting it too. But he's left all these symbols and secrets and misdirections all over the jungle to try and make sure only the true chosen one ends up getting the box. And in a way, if you think about it, Lara's kind of become that now.
All seems fragile here. There might be something hidden behind this.
In as much as Unuratu died and said, look, you got to sort this out for me now. Which is interesting that Itzley hasn't been told, but we are playing Tomb Raider after all, so I guess I had to shoehorn that in there a little bit. Now, just a little something that we got. We spent a good deal yesterday, or in the last part, I should say, looking around the mission, getting a bunch of artifacts, and exploring. I kind of am really tempted to do even more, like do a tomb that I've never played, but we'll see if we can squeeze that in after the main story. We've delayed long enough with the main story, I think it's fair. But I do want to remind you guys, we got a relic. It might even be in Lara's notebook.
Commander Rourke.
No, that's Rourke. That's the missionary. Path of the Stars. Nope. This is the stone cup with the many stone faces, was the riddle, if you remember.
A clue to where Lopez took the silver box. The heart of the serpent is in the cup, near the many stone faces.
And so we've tracked that to this location here, where there were those big stone faces outside near the river. Where the hell is it? Well, look, we found a pamphlet. We've got to find it, because... Would it just be put at the bottom? No? I hate how much of this series has been me... Oh, there you go. Look, there's 2 dolls. There are 2 dolls. They look the same. I mean, really. The previews look the same anyway. Maybe that's a little bit like, you know, Horizon Cups or whatever. Here we go. No. Not that one. That's Trinity's map. I quite like how Trinity's map ends up in there. It's quite nice looking through our relics. Here we go. Miracle Mission, okay? So these are all the stories that we've had about the mission so far. But there was this.
Strange, there are only 7 stations. This must be based on an older tradition.
Oh no, I clicked out.
Jesus takes up the cross.
Sorry, guys.
Falls the first time. Meets his mother. Then Veronica wipes his face before he falls the second time. Then he is crucified. And finally entombed. Sorry
about that muting. What I was doing there is trying to get a wiki page up. So I do have this wiki page here. Oh, right, I was just clicking to the tab. So, yeah, basically, as I speculated in the last part, one of you guys in the comments kind of confirmed that I was sort of on the money. This is like a thing that I think is practiced even modern day. It's a thing where, you know, very devout Christians or whatever, I don't know what level you'd be at to be interested in this, but what you'll do is you're supposed to, like, think about the passion of the Christ, and the idea of the passion of the Christ, I think, is like the last bits of his life, the very last bits. So essentially this was born out of people sort of remembering the route he took through some city in Rome. And then it sort of ended up getting broken down into quite small little bits of detail. Him falling down. Veronica, I don't know who Veronica is, but Veronica wipes his face. This is relevant for an actual puzzle in the game, okay? So anyway, I thought this was quite interesting. Listen to this. This is the opening of Wiki. It mentions about 1,000 things I've never heard of in my life, okay? So the Station of the Cross, or the Way of the Cross, also known as the Way of Sorrows, which is a pretty cool name for it, or the Via Crucis, refers to a series of images, okay? And that's what the pamphlet's obviously showing. So images depicting Jesus Christ on the day of his crucifixion and accompanying prayers. The stations grew out. So why are these a thing? Well, the idea of the stations grew out of imitations of the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem, which is a traditional processional route symbolizing the actual path Jesus would have walked to Mount Calvary. And I guess Mount Calvary is where he was crucified. So, yeah, it's the actual route that he took through Via Dolorosa. I don't know if Via Dolorosa still exists. Do people go there or do anything? Oh, no, Via Dolorosa is... Oh, it's a processional route in the old city of Jerusalem. Okay. But anyway, so the objective of the stations is to help Christians faithful to make a spiritual pilgrimage through the contemplation of the Passion of the Christ. It has become one of the most popular devotions, apparently. And I wonder if, I mean, I went to church as a very little boy. I wonder if I'd kept going, whether I would have known this stuff. I don't really know what they teach around here. Anyway, it's become one of the most popular devotions, can be found in many Western Christian churches, including Roman Catholic, Lutheran, Anglican, and Methodist. So commonly there's a series of 14. So there's 7 here. They have half at this place. They'll be arranged in numbered order along a path along which worshippers individually or in a procession move in order. Stepping at each station, they say their prayer, they engage in reflections associated with that station. I don't really know what you're meant to reflect upon with the Veronica wiping his face or whatever. Possibly just because I don't have enough information to know, really. These devotions are most common during Lent. It's pretty good that we're doing this right on the New Year, maybe. It would have been more appropriate around Easter, obviously. Especially on Good Friday, and reflect a spirit of reparation for the sufferings and insults that Jesus endured during his passion. As a physical devotion involving standing, kneeling, and genuflections. So this is important. Wikipedia, okay, outside of the game, is helping us with the puzzle here. As a physical devotion involving standing, kneeling, and genuflections, the Stations of the Cross are tied with the Christian themes of repentance and mortification of the flesh. Okay, I'll stop reading now before I bore anyone to tears. But I thought that was all quite interesting. And it will actually be relevant here as we go along. So let me just pull OBS back up here now. Okay, and let's go. It won't be relevant for, you know, a little bit, but yeah. So what is this place exactly? Did they say it? So we're apparently in a crypt, but also this is an old library. So I don't really get the idea. I reflected on that after making the video, the last part. I was like, are we in a crypt? It's more like they've built a library next to a crypt, right? And what does this lady say here?
Someone once said if you really want to learn about a town, you have to visit their graveyards. I don't know why. One is the same as the next. Some might be a little more orderly, with neat rows, or they're like this one, where it feels more natural and unplanned.
Yeah, she might have a point, you know. I'm sort of really into graveyards. I do think that they're cool places. I think they're creepy places. I think there's a bit of ambience there. And I think they are filled with history. And it is interesting to go and look at graves. But it's not something I do much. No, people are talking about treasure, apparently. It's not something I really do. And I bet if I did go to even just a few more in my life, I'd eventually be like, yeah, they're all the same. And get a bit bored of it. I don't know. At least visiting graveyards in your hometown's probably a good thing to do. This is probably quite bad of me. I tend to think anyone in the New World, anyone in the Americas, probably graveyards aren't that interesting. It's like that whole thing about American cities versus European cities, you know. All American cities, let's just talk about North America for now. You know, they're all ridiculous, orderly, efficient, massive blocks. They're, I mean, boring as sin. You go to Europe, and because they're just cobbled together over thousands of years of history, hundreds of years at the very least. I mean, some of them get bombed and rebuilt, obviously. You know, Paris is famous for having that kind of boulevard, very clear outlook. Most cities don't. But there's a lot more character there. I feel like the graveyards are probably the same. Like, the graves probably aren't even that old. So it sort of depends where you live. I mean, for me, I definitely know there's a lot of very, very, very old graves. And, I don't know, maybe the number's arbitrary at some point. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, a slave collar.
These collars were used abroad the Nostromo, likely ferrying the captured indigenous people back to Spain to be sold as slaves.
That's a quite little, like, little morose story there for us, isn't it? Let's learn about our people by exploring the graveyard. The first thing we see is a goddamn slave collar. Brutal. It's clearly that we got to look at this, but it's not triggering. Come on, Lara. You can see it. I can see it. This makes me feel like Lara needs glasses. Come on. Maybe we should zoom in a bit more. Come on. It's not this on the back, is it? Christ, the padlock on it is so bad. Doesn't that just remind you of like a dog collar, right? With the, you know, the little name tag or whatever. I mean, what a horrendous, horrible little thought that just went through my head there, thinking that they looked similar. Come on. I would say that this is really bad, but this is still nowhere near the worst one yet. Is it the inside she wants me to look at? It's somewhere right near this. Scroll out after we hear the chime, back in.
I wonder how it ended up here.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I wonder too. I definitely needed to look at a pixel-perfect spot for that, didn't I? Wait, well, she wonders how it ended up here. Oh, because these people aren't necessarily associated with it? Oh, I see, but we are talking about ferrying captured indigenous people back to Spain. I wonder if that... Does that have anything to do with the thing about Khan that we heard before? So, just exploring the graveyard here, we get this treasure map, which is pretty nice. That'll highlight a couple of documents in the room that we're in. It is a good idea to explore this place. This is not technically associated with the main story stuff. The entire puzzle and everything is in that Crypt library. It's a weird thought to have a Crypt library as well, isn't it? But... I don't know. I like the graveyard. I sort of wish it was slightly more related. It is in as much as you can get the treasure map, I guess. There's also what appears to be a quest here. So let's just... Oh, no, this is the continuation of the quest. What is it we're doing? We're just exploring local mysteries. So will you teach me something that I've never done before?
Calling me a witch.
No, this is the witch thing.
Imagine.
I'm sorry?
I'm a herbalist. A shamefully unrecognized branch of medical science. And that child's grandmother was a dowser. The things people ignore that are right in front of their noses.
Some people are afraid to believe in what they can't understand.
Ha! You sound like Isa.
Isabella, the archaeologist. You know her.
A smart girl. A good researcher. And unafraid to admit there are things she doesn't know. She's the one who broke the cross. By climbing on it.
Ah.
I don't know what was in her head. I tried to stop her, but she was very upset about something. Angry and full of grief at the same time.
Do you know where she is now? I'm looking for her.
I don't know. After the cross broke, she ran away, but I didn't see which direction. In the state she was in, I knew better than to try to interfere with her. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You've given me more information than I had.
I don't actually
Do you
anticipate
want to
finishing this, by the way.
I do. But first we have to get those children out of the way. It isn't safe for them to be running around while we work. That blind trickster filled their heads with tales of treasure, and they think I mean to steal it.
I'll talk to them.
I kind of don't like... I got stuck on a line that Lara said at the start there, where she said some people don't want to believe what they don't really understand. I don't think that should be some... She said that like that's a bad thing. I don't think that that should be some people. That should be everyone. No one should believe in something that they don't understand. Just my little take on that. Anyway, yeah, let's not speak to the kids, all right? Let's get in here. What are these guys saying? Child of our dear lady, how greatly I desire that my children and I may resemble you in purity of heart, in love for Jesus and in devotion towards his virgin mother. In you do we place our trust. That looks like a very old tombstone for them to be kneeling at. Do you know what I always like to wonder at graveyards as well? When you look at a bunch of really old arrayed graves, right? Just picture this story, right? Husband and wife, the husband dies very young, war, you know, industry takes him out, you know, he's working in a mine, whatever it is, okay? And she's a widow, and she grieves for him, truly grieves for him for years and years and years and years, all right? And tends to that grave till her death. But before she herself passes away, she sort of gets her family onto it. The whole family's looking after the grave. So it might get tended to for like 100 years or more, right? So I'm wondering, through all of human history, what is the oldest grave that continually was being tended to, not by a local vicar or, you know, religious associate or something, but but genuinely by the members of that family, because eventually they are all forgotten, you know. Eventually there is that final death that we keep blathering on about. And I think it's quite curious to see which, through all history, which one made it the longest. Or which one is the oldest, still being tended to at your local graveyard, even quite a new graveyard. Right, so obviously we saw this. Jonah led us to this straight away. I just want to press Q in here, because I think there's some basic things for us to interact with first before we start hacking away at the place. Like this, for example. It's a heron.
A heron and an eclipse.
And an eclipse. So what is that? A sign that we might be onto something? Now take note of that little groove there. Something happened earlier in the story that Lara did to a place that we now can surmise Lopez tampered with. And that's somewhat reminiscent of that. But just wait a second here for me, Jonah. You can kind of rush through this very quickly. I kind of want to give you guys the full experience. Here, once again, it looks like we can break through. And there's so this is another situation where a wall's been built over something. That's very obvious that there's something back there. It's a surprise the locals haven't really done anything with it. Let's just hit Q instead of walking up to every single thing. Now here's the front door, which is obviously all barred up. We have something here. Is this one of the? This is one of the documents that was marked by the treasure map. So not the most useful treasure map, honestly. You'd find these anyway. Here's a journal.
The door closed and a silence settled, so great and so vast I held my breath for fear of breaking it. Lopez turned to me, his eyes wild, a smile screwed across his face. He came toward me, arms outstretched, and for a moment fear flickered across my heart. But he pulled me close, his fingers digging into my shoulders. I found it, he whispered in my ear, and releasing me, he wandered through this room, walls of pure jade reaching up to the heavens, completely covered in intricate etched mosaics and carved figures. I followed at a distance as he approached an altar and watched as he lifted a silver box from it.
I love how this is positioned as a pickup at the entrance to this room. So maybe you guys are like me. Like I spent the whole time interpreting that, thinking, oh, we're talking about this room. This is going to be the story of when Lopez found this place to put the box here. But actually, no, as it goes along and they start talking about the jade, you realize, no, that's the room protected by the Yashil. The door closed just as it closed behind Lara. I mean, it's beautiful to hear this description of this room after we've been there. This almost could have been positioned in the cenote, this pickup. This could have been positioned, like, before we got there. But I don't know, maybe that would have ruined. I can't quite remember what piece of information we have at what point in the story. Yeah, hello to everyone in the live chat. Happy New Year. It's interesting to see people still talking about it. I feel like I've already gone about it too much. But, yeah, there's so much damage. Okay, fine. Oh, that's a story complete. That is the end of Lopez's story there. Of originally claiming the box. Okay, let's hack this away because I can't imagine what might be behind there. Lara just has a hunch. Looks like a single little document hid in the wall. De La Cruz leaves.
The others are worried that brothers De La Cruz and Serrano will not return. I have so far maintained they will, that they always have. But in my heart, I am beginning to believe we have seen the last of them, and that grief weighs heavily. We will continue their work. Either they will return to find we have not forgotten the teachings, or they will look down on us from above and bless our continued labors.
This is really cool as well. So this doesn't have an author, obviously. See, this is the thing, right? I really wish you play like a mystery detective game, like a Sherlock Holmes game or whatever. They actually really do put a ton of effort into getting like handwritten notes and stuff everywhere. I really think that this would have come across a lot better in game if I could see actual handwriting. I guess maybe there's a problem because for it to be authentic, it wouldn't be in English and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, though. I think it would have been nice because it would make it very clear that someone else has written this instead of us having to scrutinize the fact that there's just not an author on this bit of UI. But you can tell from the context of the information. So Serrano, T. Serrano, is all those other... the document we just read and all the others, and he was following what Lopez was doing. He's now gone. We're kind of on someone else's point of view. I like this. So the idea is eventually they had to leave the place and just trust that the locals would continue along. And here you can see someone who very authentically seems to really care. That they kept whatever's going on here hidden and so on and so on. But there you're right. So yeah, as you can tell from that, you probably do want to hack away at some of these extra walls. Let's do this one behind Jesus. Sorry, sir. And what will Lara remark on this false wall?
This cross, it looks like it's from the 17th century.
Lopez's time. I don't actually really get what... Don't we come back to this in a minute? I think we might come back to this in a minute. But again, you've got a cross and you've got a sun shining brightly behind it. Might be in an eclipse. Do you think that's obscured by the moon? Is that what that inner circle is? I don't know what the two figures to the left and the right are necessarily. But there we go. Okay. This wall, maybe we can do something? No. That's just trees growing in and really genuinely wrecking the place. So Jonah wants us to break into this. By the way, if I hadn't gone out into the graveyard, if I'd been playing this myself, I think by my actual gameplay pattern here would have been to have quickly scanned the bottom and gone upstairs. There is an upstairs. And I think nearly every time I play this game, Jonah finally speaks when I'm in the middle of looking at shit upstairs, which is funny to me that I hadn't even taken a step in the room once it gets to, you know, talking into a microphone and playing it. But oh, what is this?
Under his wings you may seek refuge. Under his wings.
Actually, a lot of this might have been written in Latin, actually, wouldn't it? Of the Lopez stuff. What do you think, Jonah? Oh, he's gone. Jonah's kind of being a bit ghostly at the moment. I had a comment in one of the recent videos. Someone said, I've got a bit suspicious of Jonah. I loved that comment because... First of all, it was really heartwarming to think, yeah, someone who's not played the game is watching along, and it's been entertaining enough for them to keep watching along. But second, just the thought that, yeah, Jonah is being a bit weird, isn't he? He feels so unnecessary to the story to me. I think that's the thing. And I'm very sad to tell you, it's just a consequence of the bad writing in the game. That he's sort of shoehorned in because they sort of felt like they needed an old Lara's friend or something. I don't know. I mean, he's gone through some jeopardy. He's been the damsel in distress and stuff, and I'm sure that was novel on paper, you know. Oh, look, the man can be the damsel in distress for once. But, yeah, I don't know. There's no... It's sort the way they've handled him ends up making him look suspicious, but he's not suspicious, I promise. There's really nothing going on. And hopefully I'm not ruining the mystique of the future by saying that, but there you have it. All right, General 10.
25th of December, 1603. It has been 4 days since we turned away from the city.
Paititi.
We traveled in silence and in circles, guided by a confusion of grief, relief, and celebration. Lopez and I exited the jungle and landed in a clearing, under the gaze of several faces carved into the side of the mountain. Lopez had an episode, as he later called it. He threw himself in front of the faces and screamed for forgiveness. The heaviest sin on his heart was abandoning Perez to the strange warriors.
We remember we heard about
They
that.
had grown close over the journey. Try as I might, I could not console him. So I built a fire and waited, as he decreed his actions and pleaded for forgiveness from the silent stone faces.
I gotta say, I don't understand this bit of the story, but I love it, right? The stone faces are the weird Mayan, or... No, not Mayan, would they? Well, maybe they... Yeah, maybe Mayan. Probably just associated with the people of Paititi and whatever amalgam they had. But, those stone faces out there, I don't really... But Lopez really seems to care about them. I don't know what that is really getting at, to be honest. You know what it possibly is partly due to the fact of that I haven't done all the side quest ever stuff here at this place. So we might find out more about them because the main story doesn't really take... I mean, it's very offhand about introducing them even, right? I had to sort of walk over to them in the last part and say, there they are. I would love it if one of the DLCs is about them as well. And again, as I've said 100 times, there is one here. All right, so we can break into that wall. I guess let's just do it straight away, because we can clearly see there's only a relic in there. Oh, it's not even a relic. It looked like a box, didn't it? It looked like the top of a box, but no, it's a document. Here, by the way, I have to say, every time I've ever played this game, you know, I've mentioned getting, like, tired of all the documents and the relic picking up. Like, you sort of turn your brain off a bit. I have to say, every single time I've played this game, though, this string, I've always been really into it, and I've always felt captivated by it. And I wish I was intelligent enough of a consumer or skilled enough as a writer, not that I consider myself a writer, but to sort of get why that is. And I think it's just because they're all so closely associated to an easily understood mystery of the game at this point, while the other things all feel very ancillary. Oh my god, Lara, pick it up. Wow, that was hard to get. Okay, so 11.
26th of December, 1603. Lopez woke me, having already prepared a Spartan breakfast. "This is where we were meant to be," he said, a cold determination in his voice, so very different from how he acted just the day before. I finished my meal as he spoke of holy retribution, how he had acted in error, but now God had put his hands on his shoulders and shown him the path to walk. "We will spread the true word of God from this small mission," he said, pointing to an adobe building just beyond the stone faces. "We will prepare the path for the chosen one to follow, for only he who does will be worthy of this box."
See, I even wonder, listening to this, I probably wonder this too much, but I wonder if there was a cut sequence in the game. You know, the stone faces are kind of like really offhand and they don't talk about it much. I wonder if there was a cut sequence in the game where what we were meant to do is come to this mission, and then we were going to go find the stone faces. There was going to be a little adventure there along the river. And maybe relics like this, we would pick up at those. And then finally, we would realize that they're looking directly across from this building, and we would go in. But maybe that whole sequence got cut, so it feels a bit weird. I don't know. That's an idea I have. By the way, I don't actually... I think I remember, like, last summer looking up Spartan breakfast. From context here, I'm assuming it's just like a small breakfast, a minimal breakfast, or even not a breakfast at all. That's a phrase I feel like I should know, to be honest. I'm pretty happy to be ignorant about most of the stuff that I'm ignorant about in this game, but I think, isn't that a phrase people normally use, even now? I'm sure I've heard that before, but no one's ever sat me down and explained its exact meaning. Anyway, yeah, so he's upstairs.
"Jonah, this book describes a stranger's arrival at the mission. He founded the Sect of Seven. Maybe that was Lopez."
Like on the pamphlet. We must be getting close.
So
We should
this...
keep looking.
The Sect of the Seven. It's funny that you get that cutscene on that document, air quotes, because it's not really one, right? When all these other ones have been so much more illuminating. You know, I just can't... Here's the thing I was saying about being confident in your content, right? I can't really imagine what someone skipping all of the side stuff is even getting out of the story at this point. Like, that kind of player would get something out of that book, but I mean, it would just be so thin, wouldn't it? I don't know. I feel like the only way to enjoy this game is to get all the side ones and sort of sift through the irrelevant ones.
John, son of Zebedee, one of Jesus' apostles, also called the beloved disciple. He and his brother, James, were known for their impetuousness and temper, which prompted Christ to start calling them Boanerges, sons of thunder. John is credited with writing 5 books of the New Testament, the Gospel of John, the 3 epistles of John, and the Book of Revelation. He's the patron saint of love and loyalty, as well as writers, publishers, and scholars. One of his symbols is a serpent in a cup, which is linked to his patronage of victims of poisoning and burns.
So if you remember, that symbol of the serpent in the cup is sort of what led Lara to be looking at, you know, Christian religious sites around here. So yeah, John the Apostle. I think knowing a bit about John helps in the puzzle coming up as well, I think. So he wrote 5 books of the New Testament. How many books are there in the New Testament? I assume it's not that high of a number. Okay, I'm going to come across so ignorant here. I think it's somewhere between 10 to 13, isn't it? Somewhere around there. But the patron saint of love and loyalty. I love this idea that there was a real power that genuinely influenced Lopez and the people here. There are these tremors. There is this feeling. There is an eclipse coming. There is an apocalypse. There is some real power here. And John, Lopez, through his view of the world, through his piety, through his religion, he ascribed it all to, you know, the Abrahamic God and all this kind of stuff. When in truth, you know, it might have been anything. And again, that's very much sort of what the previous trilogy was all about. God, it must be so weird watching. I was about to say out loud, you can go watch me play it. But, you know, it must be kind of weird to do that now, because it was quite a few years ago. I think I think I still had my old British voice in those ones.
This roughly drawn sketch shows St. John repelling a demon attack. Perhaps they plan to have this as one of the frescoes in the mission.
Before I spent a decade on the internet with Americans, I used to sound British. If you go to my earliest videos, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a new video. I don't know why. Not like that. Sorry, I didn't even take this in. I was so narcissistic there. I'm just thinking about myself. This roughly drawn sketch shows St. John repelling a demon attack. Perhaps they plan to have this as one of the frescoes in the mansion. Well, I can't really think as to what relevance that has to everything else. That just feels like a little bit of flavour, maybe. Unless maybe we're supposed to think of the demons as the Yashil. Were they scared the Yashil would come for them here? It's a thought, isn't it?
The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. Jonah, those 2 Bible quotes. The sun will be darkened, and under his wings you may seek refuge.
What does it mean?
That's it. Look for a heron and an eclipse.
And we've already found one. If I press E again...
The sun will be darkened.
You know what's weird as well? When I've played this in the past, I get a bit stuck here. As in, like, running around, like, looking for things. Like, I can't quite figure out what I've missed. But that was all very easy for me there. I think it's because I just go a little bit slower and I make sure to go near every wall, you know? There is this upstairs area. If I remember rightly, yeah, can we jump down this hole? Let's have a quick look. There's a document on that table. I like how the treasure map gave us 2 documents, and yet there's a billion in here. The funny thing is, though... Oh, wow, it actually snapped me to it. For once, the crazy world map controls have been good. Is the idea that this map was written by someone modern, and the only ones they could see were looking through the slats? They couldn't see the ones buried behind false walls. So that's why there's only 2. That's a nice little thought, isn't it? It doesn't make it very useful as a gameplay mechanic, but... I mean, this one, but this is upstairs. Yeah, are the only 2 ones that were feasibly near windows?
Father de la Cruz appeared one day, emerging from the jungle, breathing new life into the mission. There were just the 3 of us when he arrived, and Sister Dorothea had been ill for many weeks. He and his associate began to work that first day. By the next week, de la Cruz had recruited a workforce of 3 dozen. They have prepared the bell tower and worked the fields, planting crops. Brother de la Cruz aims to make us self-sufficient. We'd spent so long alone out here, I'd worried we'd lose God's ear. Lo and behold, we not only had his ear, but he sent another to act as his hands as well.
This is nice. So the moment that they got here, it was a bit run down. I love the thought that they got taught to be self-sufficient because Lopez had spent time at Paititi and had seen how they had maintained self-sufficiency and would continue to. And in a way, this place becomes a bit of a mirror of the hidden city nearby. 4 days away. I was going to say 4 miles, but 4 days. Which is considerably longer. I doubt it was 4 days travel for Lara, you know, in a vehicle, but hey. Assuming there are some roads for them to use. That little bit of brick wall looked kind of interesting. Jonas said that a lot of times. Ranting, a scrawled poem.
Stone faces weep as Jesus creeps along the dolorous path. Too many died. More will still, and more will still, and more will still. His light leads the way. I
got no clue on this one. Who wrote this? I got no clue. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not the 7. It's not like a poem somehow lining up with the 7 stations either. Oh, that's Trinity. That was a Trinity. See, this is a real UI thing. Like the handwriting thing I talked about a second ago. If the UI just let me see what collection it was a part of. Where's Trinity? We finished it now. We finished Trinity. Ranting, a scrawled poem. It's even on the left here. Wow, what are they trying to get at here? Okay, so the first one is the manifesto.
When the Lord gave his covenant to Noah, saying never again will he destroy this.
And these are like modern books.
Attention, Dr. Dominguez.
They're talking to Dominguez.
Trinity can rot in this jungle.
This is...
And as for the Paititian Emperor, not even he can truly understand just what...
This is Lopez saying, screw Trinity, I'm going to run away with the box. And then the next one is a scrawled poem. So purely through how Lara has sorted these out in her backpack, okay, that's what this is. It's not user interface teaching the story. It's Lara, okay. Purely how she's put that, ordered this. I assume, does Lara think this is Lopez?
Stone faces weep as Jesus creeps.
I mean, there are definitely a lot of accounts of Lopez being a bit nutty. And this kind of feels like it would be like the main office or whatever, right? Where maybe Lopez would have stood and written things. Nice bit of gold there. That's nice. All right. Yeah, can we jump down there? No, I guess not. All right, let's go back to the Heron and the Eclipse. And so, yeah, the little thing I mentioned where it was like there was that scrape on the wall, and it said, you know, I said, oh, doesn't this look a little bit like something we saw before? Way back when there was that false wall in the Incan pyramid that revealed there was Mayan stuff underneath it. It looked the same. It looked just like that. So let's hack through.
There's a whole mural under here.
This is a bit weirdly ordered, this, because we've already smashed open a couple of things and found a whole mural underneath, you know? Doesn't quite land. Wait.
Veracruz, the true cross.
Is that what
I've just realised I've done the wrong thing. We were supposed to go to the Heron and the Eclipse in the other side of the room, but we've been allowed to break this anyway.
it is?
The silver box. It's unmistakable.
Jesus takes up the cross. These are the stations of the cross. But there's a bunch missing.
Before 1600, there were only 7. This could date back to the time of Lopez.
This is one of his clues.
You think, guys?
It's the kind of thing he does.
All right. Let's see if we can find a cross lying around here somewhere.
I like that Jonah offers that suggestion there, because I wouldn't know what the hell to do now.
Find the box. How do we get the key back from Dominguez?
We'll find a way.
Oh no, we did, didn't we? We did do what I said. We just broke it down so we couldn't see the sun anymore. Well, here's the cross, you remember. We got it instantly.
Ainsley's young to have all that responsibility. Must be pretty hard for him.
I can only imagine.
I like that. I like that little moment of thinking about Ainsley. This whole sequence is really good, right? Because again, it's so different to what we just did in Paititi.
Jesus takes up the cross. Help me lift this.
Like, people say, oh, you know, the whole game's just in the jungle, blah, 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 it all feels the same. It doesn't really, though. Because it does have 3 very distinctly different settings, right? It's got this setting, Paititi, and Kuwakyaku. And they do all feel very different, you know?
That actually worked.
I hope I get this right. I'm actually, right now, I have very little confidence I'll do this correctly. I always die in what's coming up. Always. I'm hoping I'll get it.
Let's see where this leads.
Good luck. Looks so dodgy. Do you know what that looks like to me? That's like climbing into an attic, you know? Except, obviously, in reverse. Where there's random wood slats and things around, and you can only stand on some because there's insulation everywhere, and it's dark and it's cramped. You know, fun, weird little story, but I have never... the place I live at the moment, I've lived at for a long time, and I've never gone in the attic, ever.
Thanks.
I always like the idea that there's something up there,
Jesus falls the first time.
but I've just never seen it.
There's an inscription here. Ambulate dum lucem habitis.
Walk while you have the light.
So it wouldn't be a mystery magic adventure story without some kind of light puzzle, right? I don't know whether it's fair for me to call this a staple of the Tomb Raider franchise or just the genre. I think it's probably smart to just say the genre. So, walk while you have the light. We got the light coming in from above. This is kind of crappy. Okay, this is a really cool tomb, all right, in as much... And by the way, are we already seeing bodies? We are. There's these very prominent tombs here, or headstones here. I don't really... And what is that? Is that like a porcelain man coming out of the wall? Do you know what that is? That there looks like they've just got a generic corpse asset, but because they've got like a bunch of like generic tomb kind of environment walls and things. But it wouldn't make sense to have a fresh body here. In a lot of other places, that would be like a pale, blood-drained body or something. So they've just painted over it in black. Isn't that so that it sort of feels like it fits? But it doesn't really make any sense if you scrutinize it, does it? Well, maybe there's some more meaning to that. It looks like there's another, like, mirror on the floor here, but shattered or broken or whatever. Okay, anyway, back to the other point. I do like the tombs. They look cool. This is a cool tomb. You're going to take this light all over the place. It is really awesome. But I kind of hate that the initial light shaft, you'd expect a nice strong light, you'd expect it to be coming through like a big window or something, but really it's just like, oh, that's just the hole you came down from. I wish they put a little bit more spectacle into where the light came from, because this is going to go a long way. And it really, I wonder how well you could do that in real life, you know, like take a light underground. It's like the kind of thing I like doing in Minecraft, you know, if you... Well, early editions of Minecraft, where you try and like grow trees underground, so you're trying to get light down there in like the most interesting way, and like feed the grass as deep as you can downstairs. Anyway, so there you go. Let's say that there's magic that somehow amplifies it every time it hits a mirror, and let's not question any further.
Buried in here. My head tossed behind a cross somewhere.
I love that line from Jonah because it actually talks about how absurd the environments are. With I mean, look at all the skulls. I mean, this is quite a small private community. It's not been going for thousands of years. Look at all the dead.
Of the light, so that the darkness may not overtake you.
Sounds like a hint.
Or a threat.
I mean, there's a certain
This looks like the Virgin Mary.
joy in how it looks, don't get me wrong.
Jesus meets his mother.
It's the same thing I've been going on and on and on about with the entire Survivor trilogy, where it's like, they've created these environments, and they're trying to tell a really realistic story, but they clash, unfortunately. Like, I've been watching a little bit Death Stranding gameplay recently, and Death Stranding looks like an awful game in a lot of ways, but at least they nailed, you know, if you really want to do that kind of thing properly, like, going outside on long walks, it is pretty barren out there IRL. So if you want to do realism, you kind of got to go the whole way in some ways, and end up with a game that's just a walking simulator. Anyway.
Hey, it worked. The light leads this way.
I like how Lara is patting herself down there. That pat animation, I'm sure, is the same one she uses to cover her to clean her entire body of mud. Okay, so here, this person kneeling at this statue, or two people, maybe it doesn't matter much. Careful, Jonah.
What happened to these people?
It looks like the light activated something.
Laura! Are you alright?
This is a really nice moment.
It was a little rusted.
This must be Station 4.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at these frescoes.
This is really cool. I'm going to pause because I don't know if they'll keep talking. This is like the reverse of cutscene-itis, right? So like the idea of in video games, you beat the boss, but a cutscene triggers and then the boss kills you, right? Or like you lose all control in a cutscene and the character you're playing now suffers, now gets knocked out, now it gets captured, this, that, or the other thing, you know, like you're weak in a cutscene. I never really have that many problems with it. I really, you know, I'm pretty desensitized to that kind of thing. You got to get the story going, and sometimes the main character has to fail, and it feels better to do in a cutscene than force it in gameplay, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, this is kind of the reverse of that, where Lara goes and triggers a trap. So we now need to know, what we learn from this is be careful of interacting with it. You hit the wrong one, spikes will come out and kill you. So in this situation, it's reversed. She's safe in the cutscene, but we won't be, okay? So we can spin the light. Here's this guy. I think there's a comment about it, isn't there? Oh, we press E.
Look, someone else got close. He wasn't as lucky.
It's interesting to think about this guy. Was he Trinity or something? Also, what's been going through my mind the whole way through this episode so far, well, not the whole way, but since we went through the trap door, is, well, I guess the whole way. How did this guy get here? Everything closed up behind him. No one had any sign that he was around. How did he get here? And you might say, well, that just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would the light be off and why is everything perfectly reset? All the walls are rebuilt. I like to think he just found some other way in. He crept in through some wall or something. I mean, for as much as I've just been picky and whiny about it, I mean, it's such a cool, detailed environment, isn't it? I mean, it's stunning. I can easily imagine there's a crack in a wall somewhere. There's just so much detail here. All right, Jonah wants me over here.
There's a woman in this one.
Is that Veronica wiping his face? Yeah, it totally is, right? See this here? This is a rag. She's wiping his face. And what did Jonah just speculate? That we were at the 4th station? But here we can't interact with anything. Here there's a light. But that's the one that Lara triggered. That was Jesus falling down. This one here.
It looks like he's accepting the cross here.
This is a different station. So, if the idea is we're at the 4th station... Oh, did all of them trigger? Oh, am I crazy? Well, we've obviously got to spin the light, but the question is, which one do we spin it into? Can I fail this? This isn't even the bit that you can fail, I think.
These people look like they were tortured. Hung up in the ceiling.
I don't think this was just a crypt.
Okay, to be fair, there is a good enough amount of story here talking about how, why there's so many bodies here. Oh, right, okay, it is a puzzle. Okay.
I'll get it.
Jonah said it's the 4th station, so let's do this properly here. Ready? This one I don't usually fail, but it's... Can I just point out, I've been rambling on and on and on about it, but most players at this point might not have even realised or have forgotten that they have this.
Strange, there are only 7 stations.
And we're going to have to listen to her talk every
Based on
time.
an older tradition. Jesus takes up the cross, falls the first time, meets his mother. Then Veronica wipes his face before he falls the second time. Then he is crucified and finally entombed.
How the hell is it? Well, this is weird, by the way. 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7 on the bottom. Oh, I guess because you're meant to open it up. I wonder what's on the inside then. Looks like the same thing, maybe. All right, so anyway, oh, here's that thing where I've got to learn how to rotate it. I can't do it. I can't figure it out. My brain just doesn't work. There you go. That's how you go anti-clockwise. Whatever. Oh, no, now I can't go the other way. There we go. Right, we're looking at this one down here, okay? Station 4, Veronica wipes his face. And it looks like I have turned it into the right thing, right? So that's Veronica wiping the face. Please be right. Kind of trusting Jonah here. Aha. And so we get a bit deeper. By the way, it's...
Station 5. Jesus falls a second time.
Oh, and that's very clever too, that's another station, the actual fall. And Jonah's smart enough to realise that. I certainly wouldn't have been. By the way, it's very clever the way they use the light as well, where, like, they raise it into the middle of the room and shine it down so that you can rotate it 360 degrees with the mirror instead of, you know, like, interrupting your own beam. Does that make sense? I probably should have talked about that while I was up there. But hey. Also, I don't really remember what pickups there are here, because I've never, ever, in all my times playing this game, returned to this tomb. Ever. I don't even know if it's possible. And they flooded the upstairs with pickups, so maybe... and, you know, that's quite nice, actually. That probably means we got a huge amount of game completion up there.
Laura, is that what I think it is?
If we're going for the 100%.
Stations of the cross again.
But with mummies, isn't this sacrilegious?
Not necessarily. They could have been paying the ultimate homage.
Or they were just sick?
This must be Station 6.
I mean, it is cool, isn't it? It is so over the top. By the way, we're barred in.
These ones are posed like monks.
Even the doorway here looks like a cross, which is amazing. I feel like they made all these amazing assets, and they didn't really have that many places in the end in the game to put them and use them, so this place is just such a treat. But, oh my god, there was a creepy sounding beep. Oh, that's not my fire alarm again, is it? Oh god, I had an issue. Did I mention this in a video or not? Oh, by the way, they fall down when you walk into them. I mentioned in a video recently where the battery in my fire alarm was going off, but it wasn't really, and it just kept beeping, even with a new one.
I guess this is a sec from the pamphlet.
And I think I'd fixed it. Right, she said we're at Station 6, right? So yeah, also look at these guys.
This is disgusting. I'm glad I wasn't around when Lopez was.
You really kind of get two sides to him here, right? I think kind of there's a story that we're meant to think of. We're meant to think of a guy sort of losing his mind.
Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul. Is that meant for us?
Don't let Lopez get in your head. He's caused enough trouble already.
Lara certainly doesn't like him very much. Like, I think, like, the point was the box started breaking his head. And it's funny because we do know there's something...
The crucifixion.
Not sure. Maybe it's on that pamphlet.
There you go. Jonah tells you. I think if I hit tab in here,
Strange, there are only 7.
it does instantly take us to it, which is nice. But if you don't think to press tab, you might get stuck here. Yeah, I like the idea that Lopez, like, kind of did start losing it because of the box. And something about how it's tempting him or whatever, I don't know. And yeah, I think that poem upstairs, the rambling, is probably from him. All right, so what do we got here?
Carrying him.
Well, oh god, it only works on the first tab as well, so after that you're going to have to dig through. Luckily, I remember it's called.
Strange, there are only 7 stations. This must be based on an older tradition. Jesus takes up the cross, falls the first time, meets his mother. Then Veronica wipes his face before he falls.
I don't remember meeting the mother.
Then he is crucified and finally entombed.
Okay, so we got 2 stations left. Crucify and entomb. And so we're looking for anything where he's being crucified in here, and we'll know where to put the light. And that would be 6 and 7. This is the pamphlet's image of them. The art on the walls might look a little bit different. Oh, I saw this amazing YouTube video that was talking a bit about the Bible, maybe like half a year ago, where they were talking about like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the original ending of the New Testament and how it's changed over the years. And like the original ending to the story is like really boring and really weird. And you can kind of see how like another bit got tacked on a few hundred years later. And it's just, oh man, I wish I could remember it in more detail so I could rant about it. But hey, all right, okay, so he's going to be crucified and then entombed. If we're at station 6, we're looking for crucifixion.
They're carrying him.
They're carrying him. To a tomb, I doubt it.
Lifting him.
They're lifting him.
She's wiping his face.
We already did the face wiping. This is so, like... This is pretty cool, man. I love how they're all skeletons. Like, actually think about the logistics of these are actual mummies, actual dead people. And yeah, the merging of the 2 things in the region is just crazy.
Jesus, nailed to the cross.
I mean, that's a crucifixion to me, being nailed to the cross.
Think he's taking up the cross. He's carrying the cross.
That doesn't really help, does it? See, this is the room I nearly always die in, by the way. But yeah, for what it's worth, big old door here. Oh, I managed to clip the camera through it. I always like the idea there's an achievement for knocking these all down. In fact, I actually think it's really goofy the way they let you turn all these to dust. Because it's got such a good vibe in here and it sort of ruins it a bit. And all these people sitting here on the pews. Basically, we've got to get the light in one of each of these. Well, let's say this entire room represents station 6, not 7. Him being entombed happens in the final room. Let's say that. So this is all about him being crucified. So which of these 3 represents best him being crucified?
They're carrying him.
Him being carried? I don't think so.
They're lifting him.
Him being lifted to the cross?
She's wiping his face, I think.
I think the middle one best represents the actual crucifixion here. So... Oh god, that beeping. It's driving me mad. It's not driving me mad. It's giving me anxiety. But it's fine. I know I've just got to get up there and I've got to mess with it a little bit. This is the annoying thing. I think I mentioned it in a video that I had to do some annoying gymnastics on a chair. There we go. So let's get it into the light. Over a rickety staircase. And if I fell, it would be really bad to push the battery in. Bit of irony there. And, you know, a fire alarm's meant to save your life. And it's actually a huge risk for me to sort it out. Okay, so that's fine. Do we have to do the one on the left first? So I think it's going to be the one in the middle. Ready? This could be wrong. And if it is, I don't honestly know why. But let's see. Good luck, Lara. Oh my god. Okay, we're okay. See, that's good. I like this. I like this thing of like an actual puzzle. You actually use your head, and then there's this tense moment where you might spring a trap. I mean, that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Okay, so now let's reel it back. And as a Tomb Raider fan, it makes me think about, wait, what? I thought I saw a beam of light over here. Am I just wrong here? I just had to tilt it. As a Tomb Raider fan, it makes me think about all the times in the other games where, you know, you're picking an artifact up. probably most prominently, the very first piece of the Scion in the first game from this area of the world. Yeah, there were dinosaurs and things around. No, this is totally not the right thing here. How do we get on the other side? Oh, there's just a whole different one. Fine, but where's the light? How do we spin that? We've got to spin that somehow. Can we interact underneath it? We can't scope or shoot it or anything. Sorry, I'm sure some people have been wondering that, but that's not a thing. I think there's a lever or something we can interact with in here. In order to ease the light onto the other side of the room. It's not at the door. Is there platforming we do? Do we climb up to it? I don't think we climb up to it. This is just to catch the light once it's on the other side. Whatever it is, it's going to be something really obvious. Something in plain sight. We can't leave the room. Or do we have to do 2 of them over here? Oh god, maybe this is the reason why I always end up messing up this room, because I end up fiddling about with other stuff.
They're carrying him.
There, he's being carried. I'm sure that's not right.
They're lifting him.
Yeah, I get it. We already did that.
Wiping his face.
And she's wiping his face. Dare we try one of the others? I mean, we could try one of the others. I think it's going to get me killed, though. I think there's something else in the room. Let's give it a shot. I mean, it'll be fun to see Lara hit a trap anyway. So of the 2, the only one I'm fairly confident it shouldn't be is the face wiping. Oh, no. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's because I didn't have it perfectly centered because we moved the thing. That's what puts the light over there. Okay, good. There you go. We don't have to get ourselves killed. All right, so let's assess here. Which one is most like him being crucified? I would say it's the leftmost one, personally. I would say it's this, him being nailed to the cross. Are we proving our worthiness here, Lopez? In the live chat, sorry, I'm missing a couple of messages there. I feel bad about missing messages in the live chat on this series because there aren't many people watching it as it goes along. Would I recommend the game? It's difficult to say. I'd like to do a review of my thoughts of it after I beat it here in this Let's Play. So maybe I can give a real recommendation there. I mean, you'll have to know yourself how much of a Tomb Raider fan you are if you followed the other parts of the trilogy. Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed. Oh, we got it. Oh my god, I was so tense there. We got it! I think that's the first time I've done this without dying. So there you have it. Earlier in the series, I said, you know, we would have to learn how to count in the Mayan calendar for a puzzle. I was kind of bigging the game up a bit much there, wasn't I, really? You just had to do things in sequence and it was over. This one, though, I think you genuinely do sort of have to know their 7 Stations of the Cross. I wonder what the other 7 are that people talk about in real life. Are they in between the ones that we were dealing with here? Before? After? Anyway, here we go. So the last one, Jesus is entombed.
Lopez had his disciple wall him in and then... bang.
I mean, look at this. Lopez killed him. Unbelievable. I mean, look at the devotion where this has led this man here. And what the box has done to him. And this is very... I don't think it's necessarily anything about South or Central America. But there is that thing. Where is it? People... for some reason, I want to say the Himalayas and Tibet. Isn't it a thing... There is some places in the world where they practice this idea of like they self-mummify, right? They put themselves in a box or something. They don't eat. They drink very little, I think. Less and less and less to dry themselves out. And they do it until they die or something like that. There's a term for it. And I don't know whether that's the idea of exactly what Lopez did here. I assume so. But look at this. Jesus is entombed. Lopez following along with that. Entombed himself. I mean, what a brilliant idea for a Tomb Raider game to have someone entomb themselves. There's a lot of cool little beats in this that really feel like, you know, if you pitch that to me, this is what we want to do for the next Tomb Raider. It's just so cool, right? It's just also buried, and I don't know, 99% of players aren't going to be stopping and pausing in the middle of the cutscenes to think about this sort of stuff. But they have it, and look, he's cradling the box there.
The box of Isha. Only the hands of the righteous one may seize destiny from mine.
Do you think he wrote that in his own blood? I don't know how he'd be able to. I guess before he got in?
I guess it's you then.
But if it's before he got in, why not just write it normally? I mean, with a bit of prep.
He led us on this goose chase. He sabotaged every clue.
All to keep this box from Trinity.
And the people of Paititi. He was totally consumed by it.
So, again, earlier, remember we read that message of, like, after the people left, and the guy saying, oh, I don't think we'll ever see Lopez again. The people upstairs had no idea what had really happened. No trap. The tomb fall in there looks a bit goofy, to be honest. Look, there's water here as well? I mean, Jesus, wouldn't this place have sunk down? Alright, swim to safety. I kind of want to go up, but you can't. I don't think we'll ever come back to this little sequence here, by the way. More claustrophobic swimming. It's funny how they did that in that cutscene as well, because they got to get Jonah out of the way, because they haven't actually got Jonah capable of swimming along with you, if you've noticed, in this game. Swimming's a big thing, there's lots of new swimming exploration, but he's not going to be there. But also, this isn't meant to be a story beat where Jonah is in peril again. So they just sort of hand-wave the whole thing. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a companion for that whole sequence. I really do like it, but I feel like he's just not... He doesn't slot in perfectly. This is good. I think this is the last time we'll get a sequence like this in the game, guys. Where we're crawling around in some horror... I mean, look at the hands. I like the idea that they had a meeting when they were making this game thinking, what are all the horrible ways we can have Lara crawling through these? And someone was like, oh, we gotta have a bunch of dead bodies and hands gripping at her. And we come out at the cross, apparently. How that hatch opened, who knows? Classic Tomb Raider setup here as well. I mean, honestly, go to a tomb, collect the artifact, on your way out, the bad guys are waiting for you. I mean, that happens over and over, and not I'm not saying that in a bad way, like a plot recycling way. This is what it is, really. Here's Jonah.
Where is she?
I don't want to kill you, Dominguez. I gave you your prayer wheel back.
I just need the box.
Fuck you!
I kind of like this, the idea of this, like, Lara's thinking back to the Endurance and, like, all the people she's lost. Like, Jonah might genuinely be in trouble. He's better as a hostage for trade, though. Probably wouldn't... If that had any sense, they wouldn't kill him.
Stop!
Let him go!
You'll notice Rourke there as well, obviously.
Release him, and I will give you the box.
Lara, what are you doing?
I've lost enough people.
He looks very grey there. He actually looked totally different there. I prefer him looking grey. He looks a bit more evil.
I know you have. Your father was brilliant.
He was taken from me before I could know.
He was my friend. But he was obsessed, relentless.
You didn't know him.
He refused to see the potential for destruction in his work. He had to be stopped.
Here we go.
You had him killed.
He was going to lead the public to Paititi. Everything I love, everything I fought for. My world would have been destroyed.
And what about my world?
Come on now. You can't think it's the same.
It is to a 9-year-old girl. I was a child.
There was too much at stake. An entire civilization, hundreds of years of independence, thousands of lives. I had no choice.
There's always a choice. It's not too late. You can honor Unuratu and restore the sun.
No. The threat must be removed.
You're a low, selfish, murdering coward.
And you, Lara? How many lives have you ended? In pursuit of what?
There's too much to talk about in this cutscene. There's just too much.
Stop him!
There, cut. I gotta pause it. We can't do a whole, but I gotta talk about some of this stuff. There, do you see that little cut? Again, I feel like there was gonna be an action sequence fighting in here. I think it got cut though because it didn't play very well because they built this room for exploration instead of for action. So it would have been a bit wonky. And in fact, if you look at the structure of the room, the second floor seems mostly missing here or something. I don't know. All right, let's talk about that cutscene. First, Jonah just gets away in the end. That trope of him just bat the gun away and I'm fine is just... kind of maddening. But let's assume that no, it's because they weren't really intending on shooting him or something anyway. Okay, what else is there? First of all, I don't like Lara in that cutscene at all. And therefore, I kind of don't like the thoughts behind the writers. Am I really meant to believe what Lara's going on about there? Am I really meant to, like, empathize with her? To a 9-year-old girl! I mean, Lopez is right. Again, Lopez is right. She's not a 9-year-old girl anymore. She has a logical brain. She has a bit of sense about her. Obviously, I think we can all understand. I mean, obviously, it's not like I'm condoning murder here, all right? But you can understand the difficult position that he's in. And Amaratu's saying, you have to know it's not the same, okay? Quite plainly and clearly, yes, very obviously, it's not the same. But I lost my whole world. Yeah, except hundreds of lives, thousands of years of civilization at Paititi. Let's trade that in because of one little girl, right? And it is really that because Richard was isolated from the rest of the world. He didn't have a wife anymore. He had a daughter. That was it. And there's a really good story there, and it's a really great thing, I think, to get into his mind and actually think about, like, that difficult decision. A man who actually sat down one day and weighed the life of one man versus a civilization and factored in the fact that this one man, Richard, was largely isolated from the rest of the world and it was a girl. That's such a cool thing that they really deserve to get a lot in the script about. But instead we get down this incredibly short little interaction where she just says, let's do a little girl, which just makes Lara look awful to me. I really can't stand her there. And what am I also supposed to believe? That she was 9, okay? She was a young person. It happened, right? Obviously, I get that she's upset that her dad was dead. But she's an adult now. What am I supposed to believe? That she's on the verge of tears and hysterics every second of her adult life. So the second the subject comes up. Also, her shock that Lopez consented to it. I mean, obviously, you found out he's the leader of Trinity through this story, through this whole time. You already knew that Richard suddenly stopped doing things when he started investigating Paititi and his research notes stopped. That was the first thing we heard about in this game. Lara is familiar with these facts. Clearly, even long before this game's story comes along, she could have put 2 and 2 together that something Richard found out about here was ultimately what got him done in. She would have figured that out. She would have had those. So, I don't know. Basically, what I'm saying here is it just looks like they're trying to force a bit of drama, and it really feels unbelievably forced to me, and it makes Lara look bad. So, anyway, and I think all of that's a consequence of the fact that they didn't have enough time to really deal with the story. Because there's too many stories going on at once here. And so that's the other thing I want to talk about here. Yeah, the whole Richard thing, the whole Survivor trilogy, following in our father's footsteps, figuring out what's going on with Trinity and all that stuff. It just apparently was all about this. And it feels very, very rushed and shoehorned to me. It feels like they could have left the fate of Richard open for the next games. I don't know. I don't see why that had to be wrapped up in this trilogy. Why did it have to be? This trilogy was about her origins as a Tomb Raider, as a survivor. There wasn't necessarily any reason that they had to bookend and close everything. Not unless they were just insecure and scared that their whole timeline was going to get deleted. And then, you know, this feels a lot like, you know, incompetent movie directors and writers coming in and trying to finish out a story far too quickly before it needs to be, being a bit scared to set up something long term. They didn't have to fold all the Richard stuff into this. And so it feels weird that now, so like go replay Tomb Raider 2013 or watch my series on it. I'm going to stop saying that now because I'm annoying myself. Go play Rise of the Tomb Raider. Play those games and think about the fact that as you're enjoying all those stories and everything else going on, that, oh no, it's just randomly going to be about Paititi. There's nothing in those other games that really links any of it. So I really don't like that at all, to be honest. One thing I do kind of like, though, is this idea that Richard was going a bit mad, just like Lopez. Again, I think there's this buried, a really cool story beat here, but I think there's this cool idea of, okay, let's take the player into this mission, let's have them walk along and, you know, really see how fanatical and crazy Lopez got, and then let's make us think about Richard straight away afterwards. I think that's a really cool move. Because Richard was, through his own obsession, destroying everything else. If he had just... And there's a tragedy there as well. If Richard had just stopped... And I don't know whether this is now the idea that the box had influenced him. But if he had just stopped and been with his daughter while she was alive... And rewind to earlier in this game when we were at Croft Manor and stuff. And you think about that. If he had just stopped, it would have been all right. Oh, okay. And then the next thing. Right, so what did Richard die for? Because he was threatening to... He was going to reveal Paititi to the world. Okay, why though? Why would Richard do that? Lara doesn't seem to want to do that. Allowing these people to live how they want to live without the encroachment of the outside world seems to be the virtuous take here, the right take. That's what... So why was Richard so obsessed with that? What, because of the box? But the box isn't even there, but does Richard really know that? So there's just like a lot of unanswered, just weird shit there that they really don't go into in any way. Like another thing that I think, born out of this story, okay, imagine you're Lara... What did Richard die for? He kept pushing. Presumably, he knew Dr. Dominguez. He knew him. And he had said, please don't reveal this to the outside world. Please don't. And Richard kept pushing for it. So he got himself assassinated, right? Staged like a suicide, but he got himself assassinated over that. So why was Richard so desperate to do that? Now, imagine you're Lara. You've just found out that that's what Richard died for. To expose this world, this city, at the cost of everything. What does Lara do now? Is she still in favour of their isolationism? Or does she go on some big thing to try and figure out why that was the case? Why is Richard so desperate for that? Surely there's a big dilemma now for Lara, where she's just made friends with Unuratu, who's dead. She wants to be good to Itzley. She wants to be good to these people. She's been in favour of their independence this whole time. Now she's found out that her dad, who apparently she's so hysterical about, she can't, see any kind of logic or reason with that story. Now she's heard that her dad wanted the opposite. What does Lara do? Isn't she in theory at odds with all of them now? Right? But they won't go into any of that story either. So, yes, the Richard thing, I started this series by saying, Richard's dead, who killed him? And we still don't know the answer to that question. Who did kill Richard? We know that Lopez signed off on it, which was pretty obvious. But I said it was going to come into this story. I really don't think it should have. There's just a lot going on there. And my favourite bit is the Lopez, analog. Anyway, all right, so more story here. And I'm sure we just missed an action sequence there. Oh, maybe it's not story. Maybe this is... Yeah, maybe we do just fight now. I mean, I'm fine to have paused there. It's not like I could have got all those thoughts out while trying to shoot. Yeah, I think we just climb up the side because they've got to give us a new place. We're on the other side of the building now.
Is that Rourke? Running past just now? Yeah.
Think we should call him?
Hell no. If there's any change in our status, he'll tell us.
Spanish Jesuit missionary Andres Lopez, a member of Trinity, was dispatched to find and retrieve this silver box of e-shell rumored to be in Paititi. Instead of bringing the box back to the Trinity High Council, he confessed the theft to his old friend, the Emperor of Paititi, Sinchichika, Unuratu's ancestor. Together they entered into a plot to hide the box from Trinity. Lopez went west to Paititi and founded the mission of San Juan, leaving a path of clues stretching back to Cozumel for Sinchichika's descendants to follow when the time came. But while building the mission and the deadly crypts below, the box's power corrupted Lopez's mind. He came to believe that no one was worthy of the power of the sun. He died alone in the dark, consumed by the power of the box. Soon after, disease severely wiped out the population of Paititi, taking Sinchichika and knowledge of the path of the clues that led to the silver box with it.
That's great, isn't it? A brilliant summary. You know what's also a really cool story and quite disgusting about Lopez, really? Lopez tells this guy, your people will find it one day. And, they're just going to have to follow the path. And then what does he do? He shoves his own belief down their throat, doesn't he? He basically says, oh no, you have to learn all about the passion of the Christ, and you have to learn about the crucifixion, and that's the chosen person. When the people of Paititi have no knowledge of those things, and don't want knowledge of those things, they're isolationists, that's kind of a really scumbag thing to do, isn't it? I mean, I don't know whether the game's really framing it that way, but that's what it feels like. It feels like, and I don't know whether Lopez was deliberately doing it that way. But that's an interesting thought. So there you go. Now back to killing random goons. These guys are quite strong here, by the way. I would love to use our new tree climbing thing to assassinate some of them. Did we get any throwables, maybe? I mean, this will be a double kill here. And hopefully they stay quiet. Someone might find... We haven't coated ourselves in mud yet, so let's do that. They might have thermal thing. Remember the mechanic that is, like, totally irrelevant? Yeah, they've seen. But they haven't seen me. They've seen the body.
Jesus.
Can we kill him? Come on, Lara, get over. I don't like being near this explosive barrel. We can get this guy's... Well, this is really easily set up, isn't it? I mean, Jesus Christ. You know what? Playing this genuinely makes me want to play. It makes me want to go back to Splinter Cell. The one big stealth game I played in my life. The original for the Xbox One. Oh, I'd get so much nostalgia from that. It's unreal. Guys, I had the weirdest thing while I was asleep last night. I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience. Let's try and sneak around like this. Where I was like half on the... You meditate before you go to bed, right? You think about stuff, what happened in the day, reflect on what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Fantasize about, stories or games or, I don't know, whatever you're into, right? Think about what you want to do for the next day. I sometimes get, it's happened very rarely, maybe 4 or 5 times in my whole life. I get in like this weird sort of like head state, like right as I'm waking up or falling asleep, where I'm like thinking about like, instead of like focusing on one topic, I'm thinking about like loads of stuff all at once. Well, not all at once, but like just really going, like, oh, this happened when I was 6 and this happened when I was 12. I don't necessarily think about the age I was. But, I'll think about a thing from when I was at junior school, and then when I was at, secondary school, and then when I was at college, or then when, or a party I went to once, or a movie I saw once, or a game I played once. And I sort of just, it's happened just a couple of times in my life. I'll get into like this state where I'm doing that, but really quite fast and for quite a long time. And it really is like the weirdest like sense of nostalgia and just like odd emotion, just like... Oh, by the way, I'm rambling here, but this is really big information that we're about to get. I get that sometimes, and it just feels so weird. I don't know if you guys ever have that, but I had that this morning. And suddenly thinking about Splinter Cell there reminded me, which is even odder, because, you don't usually think about a dream unless something prompts you into it. Okay, so this is Rourke. Jonah has the box. Lara Croft was last seen in the church. I think he would have said Laura, though. Find him.
I know. They just left her alone in the church. It was chaos. I don't believe it.
That's 2 kills. I like how scared they are, by the way. Their instinct isn't to shoot, it's to like be stunned and be like, oh, should we fight here? I want to climb a tree. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any climbable trees. So we're not going to be able to see our new perk.
We still haven't found her. Unbelievable. She's damn good. I'll give her that.
Yeah,
And if we don't find her before she finds us, we will. Her winning streak ends here.
There's a chance, guys, that is special dialogue we only got because we've stealthed our way through the whole thing. The whole she's good, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to poison them all now with the poison grenade.
Box.
Some guys at the back of the cloud, it looks like. I don't know whether they've technically seen me now from that. I don't know how the interactions are. Oh, they're still alive! Something suspicious here. Yeah, you mean where you all just got gassed? Oh, they've seen me. We might be dead here. I'm not really using cover very well. I'm surprised they're still alive. Man, that time slowdown's so good right now. That gun is much better now. We just interrupted him using a grenade there.
Jonah, where are you?
I'm in the cane field. They can't see me.
Keep your head down. I'm on my way.
I mean, again, another combat sequence too short, and again, it's that lack of confidence in your own game, I think. I think they should be confident enough to have a little bit more, you know? But I think what they're scared of is people getting bored or people failing and then uninstalling, but then you just end up with this just a hollow little, you know... Like, come on, there should have been, like, 3 waves of enemies there. One thing I'm doing at the moment is I'm playing Halo 1 on the Master Chief Collection. On Legendary, Solo Legendary. And I'm on like level 3 now. I'm not that far in. I'm on Truth and Reconciliation. And I'm really enjoying the pace of the combat in that game because, you know, there are lots of waves. You know, you'll clear a bunch of stuff, save some Marines, and then another dropship comes, and then another dropship comes or whatever. And it feels like games don't really do that anymore. To be fair, I did wipe and then rage quit yesterday. I don't know whether I'll go back to it now. And that's obviously the downside. But at least I have a high opinion of the game. Alright, doesn't look like there's anything to pick up, like, at all. Oh god, what is this for? Hold on, where exactly? Oh, this will probably be another one of those wrought iron gates that we've got to, like, bash our way through or something. Maybe actually just this. Can we open this? No. That so feels like the way out, doesn't it? But it's so not. By the way... Oh, yeah, okay. So this as well. Have we heard at any point about this? At any point that the volcano is active and leaking lava everywhere? Again, another part of the game where it's like, oh, we're going to have the epic conclusion. We're going to have, you know, an apocalypse with all these different phases. And we're going to have an eclipse. And we're going to have a volcano. And, I mean, look at the mini-map here. The world map, sorry. If I can... I hate the world map so much. It's unreal. Oh, we're going to have a volcano. And look how prominent it is. Yeah, it's erupting, by the way. That's a cloud of ash. Oh, and sparks all coming down. But, you know, there's just so little about it. And here I am, stuck. Wait, hold on. Did we climb up that and then... How am I messing this up? Oh, is it this gate? It might be this gate. Yeah, okay. Good job, Lara.
Field, all units. Priority 1. Find Lara Croft.
You heard the commander. Let's go hunting.
Oh, there he said Lara.
I know you're out there. I should have killed you in Siberia. But Dominguez was against...
Oh, here you go. Okay, so this, that's the final cutscene of the last game. Remember, you're looking down a scope with the sniper. Remember, we already learned that the sniper itself was not Rourke, but Rourke was on the walkie-talkie, and he said, should I kill Lara as well? And Rourke, the mysterious voice, said no.
That's on me. But I'm gonna fix that mistake. Now.
So it's kind of, I think the idea here is this is our boss fight against Rourke, if you will. But instead of making a boss fight, they've substituted it with us fighting a bunch of goons while he talks. That's a lot of guys, by the way. And also, I have no memory of doing an extended shootout in a cornfield type environment. Let's see Jaguar's paw. Will we knock him down? I don't think we did. No, look, I'm telling you, every time I try to engage in melee combat, it just gets us killed. There you go. That's probably the only time I'll try to use Jaguar's paw. Can maybe do a double kill here. Isn't this how I started it last time? Jesus Christ. It would be nice if it didn't lock me into the, oh my god. What gun do we want? Let's use shotgun. I haven't really shown much of that right now. Oh my god, we died. Wow. I think I made a mistake there of thinking, okay, if I'm in the shrubs, that's cover. It's not cover, it's just stealth. The other thing, obviously, we can do is we can wait.
I should have killed you in Siberia, but Dominguez was against it. That's on me. But I'm gonna fix that mistake. Now.
Alright, let's see our special shotgun shells. Wow, in a minute. Oh, I didn't even get the double kill this time. Is that the narrow... Oh, wow, I'm actually struggling here. I think we need to withdraw back behind the car and stuff. I'm just trying to give you guys a variety of things to watch, you know. There's a gat poison field there. And another one there. But he just walked through it. I mean, look at that. You know, that's another thing, by the way. The AI isn't that good. That is something that I forgot. You know, when talking about Halo, the thing of like, why was Halo as successful as it was? People talk about the multiplayer, obviously, all the time. But you know, one of the reasons the single player was so good was the AI is excellent in that game. And you really wouldn't think of it of something that was being developed in the late 90s and came out in the early 2000s. But they are so smart, you know. Like, if you're threatening them with a snipe or with, you know, a warthog turret or something, all the elites will hide in cover. And then when they all choose to actually advance on you, they all advance at the same time. You know, fun little novel things, like when you take out an elite, all the grunts start running and fleeing. There's a lot of very cool things with the AI there that, I don't know, you kind of have to play single player and on a high difficulty to really appreciate it, I think if you do it co-op, you sort of miss out because you just sort of run and gun everything down. But, yeah, that's so impressive in that game. And I've been thinking a bit more about AI and stuff, like enemy AI, like recently because of playing Alien Isolation. Still spamming Q, and I don't need to be.
Cardinal 6, it's got visual on Croft. He's at the distill. Deacon team, deploy. Deacon's on the ground, Commander.
I like that guy in white. That's not Rourke himself, is it? I don't think so. So we obviously already had a sequence where we were fighting a helicopter. We'll have a second now. I do like the ambience here. We've got this chaotic hellscape. It's funny, crafting a Molotov really doesn't seem that impressive anymore with all this high firepower we've got. But that might be nice if I land that right, because they're all just going to climb into it. This gun got so good. This was rubbish, this rifle, before, but I've upgraded it now, and it's so good, isn't it?
What?
Hurry.
Oh, yeah, this is a bit of a platform sequence, if I remember rightly. Let's grab this. I know we're full on, like, cloth, but the gold is just so good. And sequences like this, when we get to the end of the game and I'm trying to buy extra stuff, I don't know how many random goons we're going to be able to kill for gold pickups. I don't quite know how the respawn system's going to work.
I don't have enough space for that.
No space for that salvage. Okay, what do you want me to do? Climb on the... Surely not over the fence. No. Not over the fence. It's got to be in here somewhere. I definitely know we're coming up to another thing with a gate, and I need to get over the gate. I think I got so stuck there on my summer playthrough that I actually had to Google it. I had to like go completely out of the game. Look, clearly there's stuff up there. How do I get up there though? We platform out and go through that wall. Maybe around the back side? What do you want? You want me up there? No? Wow, you know what? This is definitely the chalk being removed. With chalk, this would be so easy. This would be the most simple thing in the world. It's really weird to have a thoughtful platforming moment in the middle of an action sequence where they're waiting for me with the helicopter. Okay. No, that almost looked like that was going to be something there. In fact, let's just double check there's not. That fire at the bottom kind of tells me no. Also, what would I grab onto? Can we just clamber on this? No? Can't clamber on that. It's got to be in here. It's got to be. Will she just grab that if I jump it? No. In here? Will she get on the barrels? No. Will she climb up there? No. This whole room with the barrels is kind of odd. Oh my god, it is another one of the gates. Oh, that's not even the one I was thinking about. Oh, that's so annoying. Wow. Oh dear. Those gates.
Give me that box.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut her off there. I forgot about this. Yeah, Jonah is a bit of a disappointment here, but you got to give him the box and the dagger for the final epic showdown. His watch was clipping into his wrist there a little bit. Don't know if you guys noticed that. Abby comes out of nowhere.
I got it. I'm good.
I like the thought that she's just been drinking at the bar the whole time.
If I was you, it would have worked.
They might not get far.
Go.
Go, we got this.
I feel like seeing him all beat up with all the mud on his face and stuff after falling out of an airborne helicopter would be really impactful, but he's got in a lot of trouble already. And everyone's always covered in mud anyway, you know. There's no subtlety. They don't use it only at a certain moment.
This is Cardinal 1. Engine stalled.
Oh yeah, all these people here, they all die.
Losing altitude. Attempting full restart. Wait, one.
Hopefully we don't. Yeah, I guess that's a pyroclastic cloud. What's it called? Flow? Pyroclastic flow, I think. This is good because this is like the sequence at the start of the game with the tidal wave, except now we have like a lot more tools. So in theory, the platforming can be a lot more fun. But I don't really think they actually change up too much. I'd like a lot more rope stuff.
This is Cardinal 1. Engine restarted. Rerouting controls.
If you think about this whole episode here that we've just done, I think this is really good actually, like in terms of just Tomb Raider content, because you get a quiet like puzzly section, a really good tomb, great stuff about mythology, and then a big action sequence. I mean, it does hit all the beats, right? There's that idea in game design, right, of like designing that there's always a fun loop every hour and a half.
Back on course for heading 327.
And I think this bit nails it, really. Oh, God.
Only one chance.
Swan dive! Oh, she didn't want to. She does the different kind of dive when it's an especially big fall. I suppose a smarter one, actually. Landing with your heels first. When you hit a certain speed, water feels like concrete, right? So break your feet and legs instead of your head and chest and back. Of course, there is a question of how do you swim without being able to kick your feet. But yeah, I don't know. There's something off about that whole sequence there. It feels very left field. The stuff about the volcano didn't get the explanation it needed, maybe. Here we go. Boat ride number 3, I think this is. I wonder if that outfit benefited us much there in the combat sequence.
How much longer to Paititi?
Almost there. I'm sorry I lost the box.
It's not your fault. It's Dominguez. It's Trinity. All the way back, as far as I can remember, it's always been them. I could have had a family. Everything could have been different. We will get the box, and we will stop Dominguez.
Here's Uchu. And I get a weird vibe from Uchu as well, where we've done very little with him, but they really go heavy on this vibe that he's like our buddy and we know a lot about him.
Your Highness.
Lara. Where's the box?
Amaru has it.
But the death of the sun draws near.
We'll get it back before he completes the ritual.
This will not be easy. We'll have to adjust the plan. Please, take your time to prepare yourself. We'll gather intelligence and fighters.
Thank you.
I'll stay here and lend Uchu a hand. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay.
You know what? It's really funny, actually, the way that this has worked out. So that's it now. We're at the end of the game. This is the point of no return. The next thing we do, I think it will give me the warning as well. A warning. Hold on. I think it's out near the door, but hold on. Oh, no, not exit. Jesus Christ. Just gave myself a heart attack. Oh, wow. My fire alarm has stopped beeping again. Why would it beep like 20 times and then stop? Okay, yeah, check it out. Point of no return. After speaking with Etsley, fast travel will be disabled until the story campaign is complete. Every single time I've ever played this game, I get real whiplash at this moment. Like, oh, what the fuck? This is the end? Well, that's always been my reaction. I think in this video series, I spent enough time bumming around with those DLCs, getting extra pickups, stuff like that, that actually we've avoided that whiplash. I don't know whether that's good or bad. I kind of wanted you guys to have it. But, you know, that's actually, I think that's good. I think that means if you're someone who plays and you do the DLCs and you do a bit of collecting, it doesn't feel so bad. But honestly, you can get here so quickly. And it really, it doesn't feel like we should be there, but then you are. And I don't know. So I guess I'll just tell you guys that I've had that experience. I can't really replicate it. But so check it out here now. Back up at the Mission of Sun 1. We have, you know, the side quests we were already in the middle of, but 2 DLCs have unlocked there. This whole area here, obviously, is what we just ran through, and there's no need to do anything there. And don't worry, nobody else I remember my first ever playthrough, I went back to see if everyone was okay, and don't worry, I don't think they talk about the volcano or anything. I mean, the logistics of this just makes no sense, even on the world map. If the volcano's here and it was erupting, these people would be caught in the path, but no, we're all right. Also, that's all just on hold now. I think if I go out into the city and we look up, I don't think there's any ash or anything again. Let's have a quick look here. Do you know what it feels like? It feels like they had the idea of the volcano, and then they cut the volcano. I mean, where is actually looking at it? I mean, and there wasn't any, but they'd already built that cool action sequence, so they're like, just leave it in. Or something, I don't know. It's just weird, isn't it? But we'll talk about the volcano more very soon. So yeah, we can just explore everywhere. We could either finish the game in one part, but I want to do those 2 DLCs. I think the thing is we're going to do those 2 DLCs and then I think beat the game. And the final DLC is like an extended ending to the game. And if you guys remember, I said really the big thing about this was how it all ends. That dragged it down for me. So there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about there. And hopefully the DLC will fix that up on some level. But yeah. So, some side content coming up. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy. We still don't have the rope ascender. I don't know why we don't have the rope ascender. Where the hell do we get that? It might be a tomb or something, I guess, or some side quest. Do you know what? It feels like it might even be a thing from back here, but it's probably not that. We do need the rope ascender to get some side stuff, because what just went through my head there is I'd like to go do another montage and max a place out, but without the rope ascender, there's still some places we can't go to. So we'll see. Anyway, there you go, guys. I won't labour it. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you on the next time. Don't forget, the top of the description has a playlist for the whole series. So you can just click that to continue along, anyone finding this newly. And people who watch this live today, I'll be back later in the day for some End of Dragons, I think. So thank you all. Hope you enjoyed. And again, thanks to everyone in the live chat. I'll see you guys next time.